Do you want to teach English in China as a non-native speaker, but are worried whether this is even possible for someone who does not speak English as a first language? Have you heard different stories about different requirements and you're not really sure what to do as a non-native speaker to get a job in China? Well, then this live interview is really for you. I had the pleasure of speaking with Ashraf, who's an English teacher from Morocco and who's been teaching English in China. And he will tell you exactly what pitfalls and difficulties to avoid and how to overcome these challenges. And he will also guide you with his best tips and strategies so that you as well can find a teaching job in China as an English teacher. So let's get right down to it.
Well, first of all, thank you, Merrick, for having me. Well, my name is Ashraf Bakiro. I'm from Morocco, 24 years old, and I've been teaching in China since 2019. And so far, I'm enjoying it. Things are great. And yeah, so before coming to China, I've graduated like a year ago in 2018, and my major was English studies, linguistics, and in McNess, Moulay Ismail. And immediately after that, I stayed like maybe for 6 months, and then I came to China.
Hmm.
And yeah.
So why, why China, or how, how does an English teacher from Morocco end up in China? What's the story?
Uh, well, the story is, first of all, I wanted to apply to teach in South Korea. Well, since I'm kind of really obsessed with Asian culture, so but it was pretty hard because they only accept natives, and the only reason they would accept you only if you're like well experienced enough. So as like a recently graduated student, English major, so China will be my first step. So yeah, but I'm still actually thinking like maybe after I finish my experience here, I would like to go to Korea, South
Yeah.
Korea or Japan.
So that's perhaps a good tip to for a lot of non-native speaker listeners, because I see a lot of people focusing kind of on places where they can't get a job at the moment for different reasons, but people still kind of focus on those places and complain that they can't get a job. So I guess, one important thing that you did was kind of look, okay, I can't go there, but where else would I like to go? And where
Hmm.
can I get a job, right? So that's one
Yeah,
really good
exactly.
tip. Yeah, and tell us in general, what is it like teaching English in China as a non-native speaker, as a teacher from Morocco, and what are some of the biggest perhaps pros and cons of teaching English in China?
Well, first of all, as a non-native, you are required to have, let's say, uh, special kind of diplomas and stuff. Like you have to get a TEFL degree or TESOL, and so that's like the main part. And also, definitely, you have to have a BA degree. So that's a must for a non-native. That's a must. You have a BA degree, and preferably if it's in English. And then when you come to China, then it depends on each province. The rules varies. For example, in Henan province, the province that I'm in right now, they require you to have TOTA, which is a test of teaching ability. So even if you have TEFL or TESOL and BA degree, you will still have to pass that test so that you can be eligible to teach here in Henan province. But other provinces, it's fine.
Sorry to interrupt. If you're enjoying this video, then give it a quick like here and consider hitting that subscribe button and that little bell button as well so you don't miss any of our future videos. All right, let's get back to the interview.
Fine.
And can we just pause here for a second and maybe could you tell us briefly what this TOTA test is, how difficult, easy it is?
Yeah,
Because I'm sure a lot of
sure.
people are listening and they're like, TOTA, what is that?
Yeah, so Tora, once you find, let's say, so you applied for a job and they're willing to accept you, no matter like, yeah, let's say you have your BA degree, your TESOL experience, but you still have to pass that Tora. So they will send you a link and you just have to fill in your information, your passport, name, and then your school. I mean, the school you're gonna be working for in the future here in China, they're gonna like connect you with this special, this website, and then you're just gonna take the test. The text length is 2 hours, and it's divided into I think 3 sections. One about psychology, second one is about pedagogy, and third one is about English in general. So the test in general, it's pretty easy. But the only like the hard part is the English part, not because it's, I mean, it's still easy, but like the questions are kind of misleading. So you just have
Mm,
to take your time and yeah, just be selective, and that's it. So
mm,
once you pass that TOTA, you're totally eligible to teach in Hana province.
mm.
But now, yeah, sorry to interrupt. Now, recently, they have canceled the TOTA, and they're still looking for other alternatives. So far as I know, in Henan province, they're not accepting non-natives, only with TOTA. If you
Hmm.
have TOTA, you can teach.
Okay. And do you know what's the situation like in other provinces?
I think in other provinces they don't require this TOTA test. They only would ask for your BA degree and TEFL, TESOL, or experience. So if you have experience, you don't need to have TESOL or TEFL. And if you have TEFL or TESOL, you don't need to have experience. But if you have
Hmm.
them both, you're awesome. So yeah,
That's even better. Yeah,
yeah.
absolutely. But I suppose something really important as well for people watching us is to, is to be aware of these regulations, before you kind of start applying. I think it's really important to know what the requirements are, so you can either prepare for the test or get the certificates that you need to get. If you want more tips like this one and improve your job opportunities as a non-native speaker, then definitely download this free PDF guide with my 5 top tips for getting hired as a non-native speaker teacher. And the link is right below this video. Because something that's I've heard people do, and it's not recommended, is you get a job in China not on an English teacher visa, and then
Oh
you
yeah.
you might get an inspection, and then you're in really big trouble.
Yeah, that's actually a biggest issue, and thank you for bringing this up because I have a lot of friends, and they most of them want to come and teach here, but they don't think of the consequences that might happen after. So they just some of them would come with business visa, and it just I mean you still can work and you still can earn good money and live a good life, but once they catch you, you're done,
Mm,
unless if the school has some kind of connections with the police and blah blah. And yeah, as I've explained before, so like when you come here, if you want to teach legally, you got to have your Z visa. And even though you still kind of in between, because let's say you got accepted, you're in this school and they offer you Z visa. So Z visa, like generally differs two categories. The first one, they will write on your work permit that you are a manager or a translator. So you're still legal, but if the police catches you, it's kind of a big problem. The second one, which is the one that I highly recommend, if it's written on your work permit, English language teacher or ESL teacher, as long as it defines your job teacher, that would be
mhm.
nice.
Right. So people should be aware of that. I think that's a really good tip, Ashraf. Thanks for that. Because I've
Yeah,
heard in Facebook groups for English teachers where, people kind of get the visas or the wrong visas, and then they end up in big trouble, and you don't want to have
yeah,
that.
yeah. I mean, there are some people who would like. Some people would come like maybe like their English is good, they're perfect, but they just don't have their BA degrees in English. So they
Mm,
would still like to come in any way possible. I mean, I'm not telling them like not to come. They can come in Jola, but if you're accepting to take the risks, welcome. You can do it. It's not like
mm,
something like you should not do, but yeah, it's up to you.
mm. Right. And there's a lot of talk as well about sort of negative attitudes from students, I suppose, or that students prefer native speaker teachers. How has it been for you as, an English teacher from Morocco? Have you
Um,
experienced that?
Actually, I teach young kids, so they have no preference. The thing is, it's about the parents or the school. So some parents, like they would like to have, let's say, a white-skinned person. You know all that like stereotype about everything. So yeah, they would like to have a white skin, and most of them they just uh, I've noticed this, but well, correct me if I'm wrong, but most of them they would just send their kids to a certain school somehow just to show off. Like my kid, goes to school and his teacher is a foreigner, he's a white skin, blah blah, stuff like that. And the thing is, what like really kind of I find it like really interesting. They want their kids to learn English, but which is English. It's a sign of being open-minded. It's the language of the world. Everyone speaks it almost. So, and they still not open to other, let's say, other cultures, other, if you know what I mean, a lot of stuff. So they just want their kids to learn English, but just focusing on the language. And you cannot take the language by itself. You have to take it all with all the aspects, like culture and everything.
Yeah. Yeah, and I suppose it's really, it's really important what you mentioned as well, because I try to put in a native speaker in inverted commas, so say, someone who's perceived as a native speaker, because it's really, especially in certain countries, it's all about the perception, right? If you, as you said,
Yeah,
if you're not white and Western looking, you might not be perceived as a native speaker, and you might face discrimination, unfortunately.
yeah.
Wow, that was pretty inspiring. I hope that as a non-native speaker who might want to teach in China, you will now have a better idea of what you need to do and what things you should avoid. And I hope that Ashraf has motivated you and made you believe that you can do it as well. And if you enjoyed this video, then hit that like button, leave us a comment below, and consider subscribing as well to this channel so you don't miss future videos. And if you want to learn how to improve your job opportunities as a non-native speaker, if you want to tackle native speakerism, then definitely check out my TEFL Equity Academy online course.